What exactly was that exit from Grace like?
In the moment, it was pretty brutal because it came out of nowhere.
So it really was like a blindside.
Absolute no idea. Yeah, absolutely no idea. It hurt a lot in the moment, but then the outpouring of love was so unbelievable and extraordinary. Fans like got a plane.
You feel vindicated
to fly
a little bit.
over
yeah.
it. Well, a plane.
That is so
to
amazing.
fly over the set with a flag saying "We love you."
Join me, Sasha Pieterse, on Women in the Nude, Season 2, where we bear it all except for our bodies. Leave that to your imagination. Welcome to Women in the Nude. Sarah Drew here, who's one of my favorite people on the entire planet. I don't think there was ever a time that we have not laughed or cried from laughing.
Yes, all.
I'm so glad that I met you.
Me too.
You are just an absolute, you're stunning. You're so incredibly talented. You are so funny and just a joy to be around. I'm so thrilled that I got to work with you, but ultimately that I came to you as a friend because you're just the best.
I heart you so hard.
Oh my gosh. Well, same, obviously. It's mutual. But so for those who don't know, we did a movie together. You wrote the movie, which is a Carpenter's Christmas Romance. And I wish you were on set every day. It made me sad that you were not.
I was too. I know, there were rules.
We totally understand why. You're also very busy and you've got a lot going on. But I was always nervous to do a Christmas movie. I've never done a Christmas movie before. This was my first one. And it was because of the script. Because I was just always nervous to do one. Like, I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of year. But there's a lot of stigmas with Christmas movies. And then it was always always the same. It was like, you know exactly what you're going to get, which is part of the charm and the comfort. But as an actor, I was just kind of like,
so they can also be really cheesy to the point of like not feeling honest.
Right.
So,
and but as an actor, hard to play because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I read the script and I think the first draft that I read, which I don't know what draft that was, was still my favorite because it was like, I think it was the way that you...
Did it have some shits in it?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
And it was also the way... yeah. It was the way that you described every sort of like sexual scene.
Oh, yeah.
The insane sexual tension in especially that draft was written. I was like, this is not a Christmas movie. What am I reading? And I loved it. And I loved the communication aspect. Like I loved the dialogue, felt very real and realistic. And even though we have a lot of that, all of those similar things that you love about a Christmas movie in it, it feels different.
Yeah.
And I was super excited.
That makes me
and I've always been a fan of you. And so I hadn't met you at that point, but all the pieces just really worked. And it worked with my dates, and it was in LA. It was just like, this is meant to be.
I love it.
And Jake, our director, we have so many mutual friends, and we have never met each other. So that was just another puzzle piece.
I guess I didn't realize that. That's so fun.
And then Kaylee, who I just had on the podcast.
You did?
Yeah. She's obviously...
I love her so much.
Yeah. And you guys have worked together, and she, both of us just like gushed about you forever.
I wrote the role for her.
I'm so glad that you did.
And it was all up to her to get it. I didn't have a say in the casting of this movie, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of fun.
Autumn was just like, I know you really want your friend to be seen for this, so have her send her tape over. And she there were so many people that read for it, and she nailed it.
She really
her voice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, we were just talking about how, you never know what you're going to get with that. You meet somebody for the first time and they're your sister or they're your love interest and you're like, okay, well, we're just going to dive into this thing. And I knew immediately that her and I were going to be, best friends. And same with you. It was like, this feels so right.
Yes.
And we just laughed. And the first things that I think we talked about was, diarrhea. And
that
was
fun. That was fun. That was at lunch.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, it is one of those things where you either just immediately click, or you don't. And in this case, it was seamless, and we laughed the entire time. We laughed. It was just so fun. It was just so enjoyable.
You and Kaylee were so because I saw all the dailies.
Right.
I didn't show up, I think, until day 3 or something. Maybe day 2.
We were at the
we're still
ranch
at the
farm
thing.
Yeah.
But you guys had already done your like your most
quite a few,
sweetest sistery stuff. Like you'd had a whole day of sister stuff that I had wanted to be at, but I couldn't be there for that day. But I saw the dailies, and it's just like from the second you're on screen together, you're just like, oh, they've known each other forever. They clearly really enjoy one another. But the same with Mitchell too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's a hard thing to fake. You know what I mean? That one's hard.
Didn't you have to make out with him on day one? Wasn't there?
I don't think it wasn't. It was a kissing scene,
not like make out,
but it wasn't.
But like,
thankfully, it wasn't like super. That one wasn't super intense, but it was the
like one of like walking through the in the little garden area, yeah. But that's always so weird. I've had to do that before. Where I don't think I've ever had to do a kiss on day one, but I've had to do some sort of really intimate. They're starting to fall in love moment.
Yeah.
And man, going from 0 to 60,
it's not.
It is so challenging.
If I didn't initiate meeting him beforehand, we wouldn't have.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, hey, maybe we should like go to coffee or something. Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been day one. Like, hi, nice to meet you. What's your name?
Put your face
what
on
are
my
you?
Face.
Right, exactly. So Jake, Mitchell, and I went to coffee breakfast, and that was really fun because then it was the three of us meeting and like talking about stuff and shooting the shit and whatever, and it just like it worked, and it was kind of like okay.
We're going to be good.
This is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because you never know, too. It's like, oh, this underwear model is, like he's going to come up. What is he going to be like? Is he going to be a total? Is it like, but he's not. He's a Labrador puppy.
Sweetest,
he's the sweetest, like
guy ever.
I thought that because I didn't know. I thought that you wrote this for him.
Well, I didn't even know him. I mean, that's the funny thing because they cast him and then sent me his Instagram. And I was like, so
he is the character.
He is 100% that person.
I was like, wow, he's really putting it out there for this movie. He's like literally woodworking. He's
building his own deck, chopping wood shirtless.
So I was like, maybe Sarah knew him and was like, oh, he's perfect for this. But no.
But boy, is he perfect for it. You've seen it. Yeah, you guys have seen it.
I'm halfway through. I still have not finished the watching it, which is just based on time.
Yeah, it's so good.
The first thing
good.
I said, like actually Hudson, the first thing Hudson said was, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really gorgeous. Yeah. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, the color and everything just looks really nice.
It looks really romantic. Like you just really feel the romance of how the story is going to take you, like right off the start.
I agree.
Right off the top, right at the start. The coffee is still
some sort of combination of those words.
Of the top.
You
and the
guys
start.
know what we're saying.
It's good. We got this.
Yeah. Well, overall, I mean, I could ask you like 1,000 things. And what's hard about this, which I've said before, if you've listened to this, is I love having my friends on. Yeah. But we talk about, we've already talked about so many things. It's like hard to bring up the same things so that people get that information.
Yes.
It's the context of things, but
do whatever because I can pretend like I've never shared it with you before because I'm an actress.
It's true. And you would nail it and nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
But I don't think I actually have really asked you about this journey. What made you want to write? Like actually to the point where you submitted a script and got to that point.
It's funny. From the earliest memories that I have as a kid, I was writing poems. I was writing songs. I wrote a musical when I was 11.
I fully believe that.
Called The Ancient Secrets of Kamaboo Island. Obviously.
That's amazing.
It's about
This is your son, just so that you know.
I know.
He is you.
He is me. There is about these two outcast girls. I had no friends growing up. I was horribly bullied and moved schools every single year because I was so miserable. Like I didn't have friends till 8th grade. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So I literally poured all of my trauma as an 11-year-old kid who was super on the outside, not a part of anything, into these two little sweet characters, these two little girls who one was like injured very badly, so she walked with a limp. It's obviously, not appropriate these days. Anyway, that was why she was outcast in my story. The other one was really rich because her dad won a horse race. And they were encouraged by their parents to go to a camp where they got lost in the woods together. They wound up walking somewhere and then getting lost in the woods. And they stumbled upon a group of indigenous people and discovered that actually the camp had stolen the land from this group of indigenous people. And they went and like claimed the land back for the indigenous community. And that is the story of the ancient secrets of Kamabua Island. They're like 13 songs.
Okay, so I have so many things to say about this. First of all, I love it. Second, I love that you were 11 and like had really in-depth thoughts for this. This wasn't just like a, I want to be a pop star musical. Like this is deep emotions running through that.
Look, I have when I was
funny things.
There's so many things. I wish I could sing this one phrase. I'll sing it for you not on here because it's so inappropriate. So I don't want to sing it out in the world for everybody, but I will sing you the phrase when we're done of one of my songs, which I really enjoy. But we had this tradition growing up that I had to ask my parents to stop because it was causing me too much pain. Like in my early 20s, I was like, we can't do this. I cannot do this. It is opening so many wounds. Aww. We would do these letters to God, which was you would write down all your prayers for the next year and all your gratitudes for the year, which sounds like a really great idea.
It does sound
right?
very
sounds
sweet,
amazing.
Unless it's childhood trauma.
Unless you've literally been traumatized and lonely and alone for like multiple years, because every prayer, because then you look at all the letters from the years leading up to it, every single prayer, dear God, please send me a friend, just one friend. Mrs. Scaglione is nice when she takes me to yard sales and to ice cream. I pray that her back would feel better. This is like a church lady who like
took you
was
under
sweet. And
her wing.
I had zero place where I felt known and seen and belonged outside of my family.
Can I ask you why? Because you were just such a like warm, outgoing, like friendly person. Like what was like?
I think there were a couple things. I grew up in a really conservative kind of mentality, and my thinking was very black and white when I was little. And I think that I probably I kind of thought that it was my mission in life to like speak truth. I've learned a lot in my life.
Listen,
but look,
I understand.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
I was a baby, and I was kind of doing what I thought I was supposed to do, and it was that. So I think there was an element of that, of like I was definitely a goody two shoes. Like I didn't want to break any rules. I desperately wanted to please everybody except the kids my age, because I didn't like
what they were doing.
I would witness them behave one way one day and another way another day, and it didn't make sense.
You're like, you hypocrite.
Yes. It would be like, well, are you a faithful friend or are you not? And they're not even thinking about it. They're just doing. This is the same stuff. My son says the same stuff. He has the exact same experience that I do. And it's hard because the expectation for being a loyal and good friend is so high. But, what I keep trying to teach my son and what I had to learn myself is like, dude, you got to give people grace. Like, because people are going to screw up just like you. And you got to know that you need grace in relationships.
Right. You're going to need it at some point.
You are 100. You need it right now. You don't think you need it right now, but you do need it right now. So I think there was that. But then there was also, I always got the lead role everywhere I went. And there was always
some sort of competition.
The lead person who tortured me was always the girl that didn't get the lead part. So that was, and then she like would form a posse of we hate Sarah, and so it was just awful, right?
That's so wild. Kids are so cool and also so not.
They don't understand, I think. They're just feral, right? They don't understand how things sit or how things land. They haven't gotten there, or they can't articulate. My son could literally articulate it. Exactly how everything feels, exactly the journey he took to get to the place where he's feeling the thing from a very early. But
cannot do that.
Most kids don't, you know.
Most kids, most people never learn to truly do that either. I think for kids, I mean, I see this in Hendrix, right? Very outgoing, very friendly. Wants to be a part of everything. But kids just like point things out that they that are foreign to them, and it can be unintentionally offensive, or they're learning so many things so quickly, and they're observing everything around them. So it's a parent thing or a school, like a peer thing, whatever it is. They're just absorbing and like
just saying stuff,
regurgitating. They don't understand, or they're acting out of like sadness or fear or whatever it is. It's like a very human thing, but we just at that age they haven't formed that like tact or the empathy.
The empathy. I mean, I think that's a very big thing is that, well, also, I mean, I even think about it with me and my husband, the difference between me and my husband. Like,
right, people are just in general very different.
Just different. Like he was telling me some text that a friend of his sent to him that I was like, oh my gosh, didn't that hurt your feelings because of how hard you've been trying to show up for your family? He's like, no. What are you talking about? Like, it was, this is like the way that we talk to each other. And it's like, I know how, I get his sense of humor. He's got
his own relationship with that person that like would not work for you.
No, I would be agonizing over that text, deeply wounded by it, trying to find, and then beating myself up for caring so much.
Well, just in general, like I suffer from overthinking.
Oh,
I will overanalyze and sit there and what did I do? What yeah, I mean, all of it. And I think, it's a stereotype, but I feel like women are also always more prone to that.
100%.
We just naturally do that more, I think. Also, I do want to just take a second to talk about Peter because I met him for the first time last night, and I've heard so much about him. And so meeting him, he's not only is he so sweet, and also so much more quiet than you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But
in that setting, though.
I'm sure.
It's so funny. Yeah.
No, Hudson's the same way, too.
If you get him on the golf club with his buddies, he is literally the mayor. He's the mayor of the golf club.
Hudson is the exact same way. And it was just so sweet to see him be like that in so many ways, perfect husband. He was holding all the things.
Yep.
And we were going to take a selfie, and he was just like... He like took his phone out and turned his flashlight on for like the perfect light. I was like, this is so sweet. And you are such a social butterfly. And it's like one of the most amazing things about you. And I would like find him in different places in the night. And I told him, actually, I was like, where's Sarah? You're here. You're still here. Where's Sarah? She's out there somewhere.
She's somewhere.
And I was like, you're a really good sport. He's like, I know. But like in the best, sweetest, like it was just so, it was so cute. And I think it's also one of those things where I like see myself and Hudson in that. I'm like, I know that.
Yes.
I know exactly what that is. And it's just cool. It's cool to like meet your other half.
Yeah.
It's just
he's gotten used to it. He has like when I was on Grey's Anatomy, he had this whole crew of spouses that
everybody else's spouses?
all the purse holders, and they'd all come, like we'd all be doing the carpet and they'd all be hanging out and getting drinks,
which is actually really
like,
cute.
So fun. So we got to see a couple of them last night too, which is it's just so sweet. I think they all bond over the weirdness of what this is.
At least like there's a relatability there for him too. It's like, yeah, we're all in this together. And like my friend and I, we were there last night and at this Hollywood party. And we sat there for a second and like looked at everybody and we were just like, this is such a weird thing that we do. This is such a weird job, weird life.
So weird.
And yeah, it is. It's a bizarre little bubble that we're in.
I never want to go. Like whenever my publicist is like, you should go to this party. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. Like I don't want to find the outfit. I don't want to.
It takes a lot of effort.
I love my stylist. She's so amazing.
It has nothing to do with that though. Getting in pretty things, getting your hair and makeup done is fun. Yeah. But it's the lead up. It's all the things involved. There's a lot of effort.
And then there's like a performance. I was trying to explain this because my son really does not enjoy me in glam at all. Like he feels like it's a fake. He feels like I'm not being authentic, and he's very into authenticity. It's like don't hide who you are. You need to be who you are at the deepest core of who you are always. And I'm like, buddy, we shift
quality,
gears.
Though. It is, but yes, I understand. Yeah.
I love that about him, and I know that like that's also going to morph and shift, and of course. But I'm like, we all are like shifting gears all the time based on who we're talking to. You know, not that we're become a completely different person, but just that like you choose not to say, ugh, I hate what you're wearing, if that's what you think, because
you filter certain things.
You filter things, and you take an interest in things that you might not be interested in for the sake of being kind and generous. You know, there are ways that you shift gears. Different friend groups kind of bring different sides of you out,
Totally.
you know? Anyway, but I keep trying to explain to him that putting on that whole thing is, it's part of our job, and it's a role we play. I always get so anxious stepping into the red carpet. Yeah. Because I'm like...
Well, last night was also particularly crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. And there's just... There's so many different energies in those parties. There are people that are like starving for like attention in some
for
way.
Food,
for food, forget it.
Yeah.
Yes, I went home and was like, I need a quesadilla. Yeah, that's what I need. No, and then there are people that like don't look at you, but they just look over you because they're like looking for whoever else might be more interesting to talk to or more strategic to talk to.
All the things that they have to check off the list. Yeah.
Yes. There are people that just sort of sit back and just like watch it all happen, you know. And then you find like people that you know and love, and then you have like real beautiful moments of authenticity. I was telling you before we started recording, after like a drink and a half, turn into the biggest fangirl.
It's awesome.
At all of these parties, I stepped into the circle of the entire cast of Shrinking, and I was like, you don't know me, but I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with all of you. Your show is so amazing. I love you all so much. It was just like, they were all,
what's so cool about that, though, is that, like, well, there's your kid in you, right? Yeah. There's the authenticity. It's like... Yeah. We have all of these like rules, and we have to like, you know, be a certain way at these events, and
you gotta look like sexy,
and make sure that like you're posing correctly. Oh, there goes my necklace. That you're like posing correctly, and you're doing something that like your publicist will be happy with later, and like
your stylist will be happy with.
Right, all the things, right, and you feel like you got to look a certain way so that you impress whoever might think of you for a role, or I don't know, all the bullshit that gets like thrown around. But it's so nice when you have a refreshing moment like that, where like, hey, we're in this crazy industry, but like this is really about art and like what we like to do. And when somebody else appreciates it, especially a peer that you respect, how fucking cool is that? Yeah. And I'm sure they loved that. Nobody would leave that and be like, wow.
I don't know, because I went home and went, oh, I bet they're all like, oh my God, that girl. In those moments, I don't even tell people my last name. I'm like.
But you don't need to. No. Because people know who you are.
No, I swear they don't. Some do, but not like a lot of people don't. But I just go, I don't even introduce myself. I'm just like, I just think you're so amazing. And they're like, great. What's your name? I'm like, oh, I'm just Sarah. It's fine. You are so good. But I know that's a missed opportunity. I know I'm supposed to say my name so that people know who.
Listen, they will remember you. They will remember you, whether they knew you from before or not. No, but I genuinely mean that in like it's a great thing. It is such a good thing, and I hope you never stop doing that.
You can't stop me. That's the problem, is that I see someone that I'm like obsessed with, or that I've just been watching the show and it brings me so much joy and it's doing such good in the world, and I just have to say it. Yeah. If I see something, I have to say it.
It's great.
I can't help it.
Okay, so you are...
Anyway, sorry. Well, we were talking about writing, becoming a writer.
Yes, that is how we started. And you never finished.
I never finished. Okay. Yeah. Wait, so
Your amazing
so there are these
musical.
Letters. So I wrote this musical about these two like girls who found each other and then healed a people, like, or helped like bring justice to a community who had been
wronged.
Yeah, I'm like, it's funny thinking back on it, because like I wasn't even noticing the significance of the story I was
Right.
trying to tell when I was telling it.
It was your heart bleeding and coming
my heart
out in
bleeding.
yeah.
It was my heart bleeding. So I think and then I wrote, I tried to write a script in high school that never happened. I wrote a one act play in college and produced it, and I directed the spring musical in high school. So I've always had sort of a desire to be in that artistic, creative storytelling leadership position. And it wasn't until the first movie that I produced back in 2017, which then inspired me to ask to shadow on Grey's, which then led to me getting to direct a web series on Grey's for my last year, which I had a blast doing. And then after Grey's ended, I just kept looking for more and more opportunities to produce. And I was doing a Christmas movie and working with this amazing group of humans, including these two producers, female producers, Stephanie Slack and Margaret Huddleston, who I love. And we were all just talking about making our own stuff. And it hadn't occurred to me to try it fully myself, to birth something from nothing.
Right.
Because the first movie I produced, I just came on as an actor and then also was an executive producer.
As we do. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. That is our foot in the door.
That's our foot in the
ways.
door.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But I came up with this outline and I pitched it to them. And I was like, and they were like, this sounds so much fun. I can see the whole movie playing. And I'm like, great. So we should probably hire a writer. And they were like, no, you should go home and buy Final Draft and you should write it. And those women I have to thank for kicking me into writing.
They saw it.
They saw it. Yeah. They're like, you're literally saying the story and I'm watching the movie.
Write it down on paper.
You should write it down. And they were like,
on paper. Yeah.
You know how to do this. You've been advocating for your character for 9 years on Grey's Anatomy. You have ideas all the time. I had a 9-hour note session on the movie I did with them, with my co-star, to elevate moments and bring more life into, just sort of add a little bit more sparkle or depth.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we know that you can do this. And then I wrote that first draft in 3 weeks. And
That's crazy.
They pitched it around and Lifetime eventually bought it. And that was the first one I wrote, which was 2 years ago. And then I did Cowboy Christmas Romance and now Carpenter
Also a very
Christmas
spicy.
This one's spicier, though.
One. This one is spicier.
This one is spicier.
Yeah. I love that. I have a side question, which is what did your parents do?
Oh, my dad's a pastor.
Okay.
So I grew up as a pastor's kid, and my mom.
There's an extra layer there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But they were always, so unbelievably supportive.
That's awesome.
From them. My dad's also loves music. Music makes his heart sing. They both really respond to art. Art is from God. Is
That's
to them.
I mean,
my mom is
really
a
sweet.
scientist, but she sees the artistic workmanship in the creation and evolution and all the ways that science works.
Nature,
and
beauty, all of it,
all those things. So, so for them, what they saw in me, when I was 5 and doing my graduation from kindergarten, stepping onto the stage as if I owned the place, they were like, they told me about it later. They looked at each other, they're like, what is this? It was so...
Force of nature.
Yeah, force. Yeah. And so right from that moment on, it was just in plays constantly. And for them, it was about this was a gift that was God-given, this beautiful gift that I had to use in the world. It had to come out of me.
Right.
So there was never any pushback. It was
again,
only,
you were empowered to,
Yes.
Yes. That's awesome.
Even though I never got the Hollywood is so dark lessons from them, ever. Never.
Yeah.
They just were like, go forth.
They're probably
Shine.
well, she's keeping us in check. She'll keep herself in check.
Oh my gosh. Nobody ever needed to punish me. I would
You punish yourself.
myself.
Yeah.
Overly punish myself. But yeah.
So the reason I asked that is because I want to move over into your side of parenting because you have empowered your kids, which I really respect, as also a boy mom.
Yeah.
Your son is already doing what you were doing, which was creating and having all of these stories in his mind. And now they're coming to life, which is just so cute and so cool. And also, because I want you to talk about it, but one thing that I want to say about it is that it's one thing to have the idea and have the dream, and then it's another thing, especially I feel like for a boy, to like execute on that and be organized and like want to see it happen and follow through with something. I think kids naturally have all these things that they want to do, but like to get them to follow through with something is difficult.
Yep.
Especially at his age.
Yep.
And he is with it.
He is singularly focused on filmmaking right now, in a pretty extraordinary way. It's funny, when COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere or do anything, we started making little films together. And
so cool.
We started with stop motion animation with Legos. So he made like a little 9-minute stop motion animated
which
film,
also
which took
takes
a journey.
A lot of effort.
A lot of effort, a lot of work. And he sat with me choosing all of the sound effects and putting the lines in and doing the voiceover and
That's so cute.
All that stuff. And then after that, I got him a gift of a giant green screen because I was like, why don't we start making
real things,
real little movies?
How old was he?
He was 8
when you did that.
He was 8, yeah. And then then we started showing movies in our backyard. This is just the birth of it all. Oh, meanwhile, the other thing he was doing at the time, because his brain is also like he's a builder, he's a maker. He's just inherently a maker. So he was coming up with rides, like Disneyland type rides and attractions, like epic. He had epic drawings of all the different things that you do on each level. There are different things that happen. We have a friend who is a retired Disney Imagineer, and he had a Zoom meeting with him, sat and had a Zoom where he like emailed his floor plans and talked through what Micah emailed him.
Right. Yeah.
Micah's floor plans. And they talked through all the different mechanisms of the design. But at that point, so he's 8 at this point, and he's fully convinced.
So cool that your friend did that, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was so fun because he fully was convinced that he could build like an amusement park in our backyard. Like he was going to build a roller coaster in our backyard, and then people were going to pay tickets, and then he was going to Peter and I would have these conversations like, dude, I don't want to crush this dream. But there are things that are not possible. That is not a possible goal. So anyway, he'd been going on and on about how he was going to make this happen. And then we bring the whole neighborhood over to watch The Greatest Showman. There's a twist in the story. And all the kids get obsessed with it and start rehearsing for it. This is in the summer of 2020. And they're telling us, all the grown-ups, we're doing the show on Halloween. We're doing the show on Halloween. And we're like, okay, that's so cute. And they cast themselves, and we're rehearsing religiously 3 times a day in the neighbor's backyard. And after 3 weeks of rehearsing, Micah comes to me and he's like, Mommy, I don't think you're taking this seriously. We're doing the show and I need a script. And I was like, oh, okay. So Peter found the closed captions online because
Smart. Yeah.
I went to my agent, but they had a version that was 100% different than what the movie was.
Of course, actually was.
Yeah. And I spent 2 days piecing together this whole script. And then I pulled the kids together and I was like, okay, this is what I think we should do. I know you want to do the whole show. I think it's a more realistic goal if we do an abridged version of the show. I think we should choose 10 scenes. You guys pick the scenes that you want to play that really lets your character shine and that pushes the story forward, and I'll shoot them. I'll direct them. And then you can do the musical numbers live, and we'll put it all together, and we'll do like a 1-hour version of The Greatest Showman on Halloween. And we did. It was a 6-week production in my backyard.
So crazy. That is so cool.
We had like all the the dads all played bit parts, and the moms.
This is why you don't want to leave your neighborhood, Peter.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The moms would come and like help holding the boom sometimes, and they would bring snacks and crafty, and everybody, all the parents. I ended up putting the kids' voices into the karaoke versions of all the songs, and then kind of mixing a little bit with the real thing just to like lift it up a little, so that when they were singing live, they were singing to their own voices.
Right. Yeah.
But we did a show on Halloween, and it was, we shot it all outside in front of the green screen. So I just put them in all these fun places. But at the end of that, it was the most extraordinary thing that happened in 2020 for sure.
I just want you to
For
also like
us.
understand that this is the way that you're healing your childhood version of yourself.
Yeah, oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like how cool that you're creating that space for your kids, and like, yeah, this is what you needed.
This is what I needed.
Yeah.
And what I almost got to do, I had like 2 rehearsals for my musical, and then everyone dropped out because school started.
Yeah. So
But
you made it happen.
I made it happen.
And it's amazing.
And it gave Micah a window into how to shoot
And
what
how
to
hard
do
it is.
and how hard it is.
There's a lot involved.
A lot involved.
And a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it takes,
everybody has to participate. And then at the end of the day, we did the show, and it was really healing for the whole neighborhood too.
Yeah,
because
such a
nobody
hard
had
time.
been able to go anywhere or do anything, and then there was just the burst of epic kid joy. I'm like gonna cry thinking about it. It was such.
It's a safe space. You
Yeah,
can cry
no,
here.
it's just like such a beautiful experience of community coming together and of like creative joy and love in the midst of pain. It was so just like epic. And Micah goes, "This is the best day of my life."
Aww.
End of the show. And then from then on, he has been like
Set on
filmmaking.
doing stuff,
Now he edits on Final Cut Pro. And Hannah, that was her first experience performing. Now she's like starring as Peter Pan in her school production. She's starring as
cool.
James and James and the Giant Peach that she's doing with Micah. Like she's
That's
a
so
performer.
cool.
You know, it kind of ignited something for
Yeah.
both of them, which has been so fun to watch.
What does Peter do?
Peter's a professor.
Okay,
He teaches.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I just-
he teaches
yeah.
comparative religion at Dartmouth right now, which is
No biggie.
on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, I know
Just
that's
challenging.
difficult. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, you're both so involved in your own way, and I think that is just really, really cool. As far as like keeping the family together, that's also really difficult because
Yep.
you both travel for
Yep.
work.
Yep.
How do you make that work?
Yeah. Ask me in a couple months, maybe.
Yeah.
This year was especially hard because this new job that he's been doing with Dartmouth is really just one semester a year. It should be. But this year, because they moved him from winter to spring, he did both winter and spring.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
winter and fall. So he was
Next
gone
year will be
winter.
better
Next year, yeah.
or easier,
It's gonna.
yeah.
I think it's gonna become more manageable. And then I was gone all summer shooting Mistletoe Murders. So whenever he's gone, my parents who are now retired fly in and live with us.
Mm.
So it's like they're so amazing. Oh my gosh, they're so. I don't do it.
That's so cool to have that ability to. Yeah.
And the timing just worked because Peter previously worked here, and so it was okay for me to go.
Right, go
'cause
wherever
he was
you needed to
always,
go.
He was
Yeah.
always here, but with him traveling, it coincided with them retiring, and so it just really worked out. And for them, it's like. For my kids, like
what a
the
treat.
relationship
to
that
have a
they've been able
close-knit
to
relationship
build
with them, yeah.
is you can't.
No, it's irreplaceable. You can't-
Irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So they love it, and then my mom is also like, she loves to go. So retirement is very
Hard for her.
challenging for her. My dad still teaches and preaches sometimes, so he still has stuff going
outlet.
on.
Yeah,
He's writing a book right now. You know, he's got stuff. But she gets like a little restless, and so she's like, okay, what can I do? And, you know, she does all the grocery shopping, does all the cooking. My dad does every dish. I don't do a single dish
That's really nice.
while they're visiting.
Yeah. That's really cool.
It's so amazing. But I do, and as amazing as they are, it is, you know, they leave the like really thick parenting stuff, like all the
Right.
big parenting
Yeah.
stuff.
They
to
don't try
me.
and take over in that way.
No. They're like, and they've made that clear. They're like, we're doing the grunt work and we're having grandparent time. I'm not going to try and parent them. Like that's
So great.
which I just so appreciate. But also when you're doing that stuff, when your partner isn't there,
Yeah.
There's
Then
this-
that's also all on you too. Yeah.
it's also just like I'm so grateful to my parents. And, you know, my kids, they fall apart when they're at home sometimes because they're keeping it together
course.
out in the world, right?
Yeah. That's our safe space. Yeah.
And when it's just
Or
me
it
and
should be.
Peter and they're falling apart on us, we can manage it. We can like tap in, tap out,
Right.
whatever. We don't take deep offense or anything. But when it pours out onto my parents who are just like so incredibly just pouring their lives to help us, I then have this added element of feeling like shame that like.
Oh,
I know that they would never receive it that way, but
you
that's
feel it.
my stuff.
That's your
That's my stuff that I just like. I just want you to only feel so thanked. And
something to remember is they had their own kids. They raised you.
They know.
They know. They went through a version of this.
100%.
But I know
right.
exactly what you're saying, especially in that moment in like your situation. You want them to just like feel like they're loved and that everybody's grateful.
Because then I feel like I have to overcompensate when my kids are not very nice to them. When they have their moments, then I'm pouring all this extra energy both into like parenting the kids out of behaving that way and treating them that way, but then also like going to my parents to make sure my parents are okay. And they're like, Sarah, we're fine. Obviously. But it's an added level of emotional like intensity, I think.
Yeah. So there's like relief on one side and then stress on the other.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it also has to be hard for Peter to be away for that long too, because that's also like another layer of, that would be so odd. Like I know it inevitably will happen if I'm successful in my career later on, but like it must be hard to be away from your family in that way for that long.
It's a long chunk, you miss a lot.
It's easy to say it now, but like Hudson and I have the rule where it's like nothing more than 2 weeks apart, which is like great.
We had that rule
until that's not physically possible.
We would have kept that rule without kids being so locked into their stuff that they have to do now, because it just makes it like, because we could have easily hopped back and forth,
right?
If it was just the two of us, or if we're just hopping back and forth with a baby or whatever. But once the kids are like set in the stuff they have to do, it's a lot
we
harder.
Are fully aware that will eventually happen. Like Hendrix will get into something that he loves, whether it's sports or arts or both or whatever it is, and eventually there's an age where like they can't just hop around anymore, and they have to be in one spot more consistently. But it's you're just constantly evolving and trying to like make it work.
Someone asked me in an interview the other day, what is the title of the current chapter of your life? And I said, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
That, I feel that hard. Oh, yeah.
I feel that in relationship, in parenting, in career. I mean, it's so, I don't know. People are like, what do you want to do next? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Work?
What?
Yeah. I want to work.
I want to support my family.
Yeah, exactly.
And do stuff I care about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a weird time to be an actor, too, I feel like.
Yeah.
Post-COVID
and strike and renegotiations and the death of television.
And wanting to keep your dignity, but also, support your family and all. Yeah, the death of television. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an odd little bubble or little, like, roller coaster that I feel like we're in right now. But I think most actors understand now that like you are in the position where like you can't just act.
I know.
There has to be other things that you can't just like
you can't
wait
depend
for that.
on it. You can't just wait. You can't just wait.
No.
That's also why I started writing too. It's just like I got tired of going of those in between naked moments of just nothing is happening. I don't have anything that I know that I'm looking forward to. This thing is over. And what do I do with myself? What do I do with myself? What do I do with the art that is constantly pulsing in my blood?
Yeah. And
then it's like, maybe, the first script I wrote was obviously completely on spec. Nobody had, Lifetime didn't buy it till like 2 years later or a year later or something, We shopped it around and we wanted it. But yes.
Yeah.
The joy of just like pouring all of that energy into the keys and building stories and building worlds and building relationships and people and like laughing and crying while building it is like that. The process itself, regardless of wherever it goes, is what keeps the fires burning,
Yeah. Yeah, and it flexes the muscle, it does a lot of things. But yeah, it is one of those feelings of like, well, if you're not getting hired, you need to make it yourself. Yeah. You need to make a role for yourself.
Yeah.
Or you need to do something for yourself. And it's cool that we are both in that position where like it's a possibility
Yeah.
that somebody could buy it or that
Yeah.
it could become something. And at the same time, it takes a lot of work, and there are just in our industry in general, there are just always more no's than yeses, and
Yes.
even if you get a yes, from the yes to like it actually being made
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
so many steps involved, and the likelihood of it not happening is still very high. I find it very hard to let myself celebrate because of that reason. You know, it always feels like it's going to get taken away from you in a way.
Yeah.
It's definitely that, like, until you're on set and you'll at least get paid for something.
Yep.
It isn't real yet.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's
I
interesting.
I take it in a different. I'm learning to like hold more loosely to things, like to not. I did a pilot a couple years ago that I thought was like my redemption story after being let go from Grey's. Like it was called Republic of Sarah, and I love the script so much. I love the character so much. I got the pilot. I fell madly in love with every single person on that set. We had the best time ever. And I felt this like very deep kind of like, this is it. This is why. This
Right.
is why that happened, so that I could be here. And I got so attached to the thought that this was what it was going to be, and then it didn't get picked up. And it was such a
Devastating.
crushing blow
Yeah.
that like I'm learning to really hold really lightly to things and also
Get excited.
celebrate everything.
Yeah.
I have a chilled bottle of champagne in my fridge at all times, and I have these 2 Crystal Swarovski champagne flutes that Chandra Wilson gave me as a parting gift when I left Grey's, with a note saying, celebrate everything. You pull these out, you celebrate everything.
That's really cool.
So good. And I remember, and I had one day where I had 3 producer sessions for 3 different pilots. This was back in 2019, I think. And it was like 30 pages of material.
It's insane. I've been there.
The
Yep, I know.
lead role in 3 different shows, all in one day.
Talk about throwing everything at the wall and hoping
Throwing
something will
everything
stick.
at the
Yeah.
wall. I killed it. Like the end of the day, I was like, I killed it. I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
I killed it. And Peter just went straight to the fridge and got the champagne bottle out. It's like, we're celebrating. Like, you deserve to celebrate what this day was.
Yeah.
This was a feat.
Yeah.
So congratulations, So I like to celebrate all of those little things.
That is definitely the right way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. While also being like, nothing could happen from this, but why
I
should
feel
I
good
stop
about
celebrating?
what I did
Yes.
and like what this was.
Yes.
I don't know how much you've talked about it, but what exactly was that exit from Grey's like? Hey everyone, it's Sasha. Great conversations deserve the perfect pairing, like my new adult beverage, Hippie Water. It's a refreshing, non-alcoholic seltzer with 5 milligrams of Delta-9 THC and just 30 calories. Find it now at hippiewater.com and use discount code NUDEHIPPIES for 20% off. Or find it in Total Wine in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Hippie Water. What exactly was that exit from Grey's like?
Yeah, it was. I mean, in the moment, it was pretty brutal because it came out of nowhere.
So it really was like a blindside.
Absolute no idea. Yeah, absolutely no idea. I thought 100%.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and I've come. I mean, I came. It's such a weird dichotomy because it hurt a lot in the moment. But then the outpouring of love was so unbelievable and extraordinary, both from cast and crew. The fans got a plane.
You feel
to
vindicated
fly
a little bit.
over
yeah.
it. A plane.
That is so
to
amazing.
fly over the set with a flag saying "We love you." Just
That's crazy.
like bananas, right? And we on our last day, they gave us these beautiful boxes that the props department had made with pictures of. Because it was Jessica Capshaw and me that were both let go at the same time, and it was pictures of all of us throughout all the years that we were on it, and then there were letters from cast and crew, just a huge pile of letters that I read the whole.
I don't know if I'd
ride.
be able to read all those. That would just that would be.
It was so healing. Chandra Wilson actually, along with these champagne flutes, wrote me a letter from her character Bailey to April Kepner.
Yeah.
That was so exactly what I needed to hear for that full circle, like closure. It was such a healing thing. It was the last letter I read in the box, and I just was absolutely, and it was leaving my last day shooting. So it was an interesting thing. It was very, very painful, and it felt very shocking. I felt like it came out of nowhere, and I was confused. And I think I said I'm so confused in the meeting like 17 times because I was like, why?
And why though?
But why?
Did they have a reason?
The reason was we'd put you through so much, and we've run out of stories to tell, and we have too many characters we're trying to.
So it was a shakeup, essentially. Yeah.
What I've come to realize is that it was my 9 years on that show was amazing, and I grew so much as a person in so many ways, and as an artist, and learned how to advocate myself and for my character, and really learned how to direct, learned how to produce, these things, all these incredible skills. Developed a following that will always be with me. Supported my family, set myself, there was so much beauty and good. And I never would have left if they hadn't written me off.
Right.
But now I'm doing my own stuff, and I think I probably wouldn't be doing my own stuff were I still there.
Yeah. If it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's just I can see the beauty in the ashes, like our movie Carpenter Christmas.
Yeah.
I can see the epic good was so bone crushingly good that I wouldn't change any of it for the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah, but it was hard. I mean, it's very funny because every time I talk about this, somebody grabs a headline and makes it.
Oh, I'm sure. I won't do that to you.
Oh, God. No, it wouldn't be you, though. It would be somebody else being like, what is that one little phrase she said? Let's make every headline make it sound like she's bitter and angry.
No, I hadn't even thought about asking you anything about it.
Yeah, but then
it wasn't even on the.
I brought it up.
Yeah, it was just it's like one of those things, right, where you're like, I don't know, the business is weird in that way, like you're saying, where you feel like you almost have ownership over something, and it just kind of just gets.
That was also a really, really big lesson in the loosening the grip kind of thing, too. Just really anything can happen.
Yeah, you can't take it.
You have to be in this moment right now, not thinking, how's this going to get me somewhere? What's this going to do for me? Or how is this building? There's strategy, whatever. I found in my career that I'm my most joyful and end up organically building more opportunities when I'm not in strategy mode. When I'm just saying, I want to tell this story, yes, and then I show up with a whole heart and I pour everything I am into it.
Yeah.
And I make authentic relationships on those sets that are built on friendship and trust and not trying to get something out of the person. And then work begets work. And that's just what my last 6 years have been like.
Just so cool. Do you have anything that you regret doing? Is there a role that you really wish you I don't know, that felt wrong?
No.
Kind of?
No. Isn't that weird?
No, not necessarily. I think in that way, though, it means that you did make you make the best out of every situation.
Yes.
Which is great.
I've said no to a lot of things. I've said no to a ton of things. But in terms of the things I've chosen to do, even if maybe the quality isn't as amazing as I hoped it would be or whatever.
The end product, yeah.
There's so much good inside of it.
Yeah, that it's okay.
That it, no regrets. I can't think of a single thing where I was like, ugh, why did I do that?
Well, I think for me, too, there are definitely things that, I would probably, erase. But at the same time, my happy place is on set.
Yeah, same.
So I feel all of those things, right? And even in the times on set where it's not happy, I'm learning so much. Mm-hmm. And so there's always There's always a lesson there.
I just think regret is an interesting idea. I don't think I have
Like regrets.
Regrets because I'm all like my engine is like hunting for the good inside of whatever I'm in.
You're definitely wired that way.
I don't know how to do life any other way.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm in a situation that I'm like, ugh, this is so hard, it's like, but how do I expand right now? How do I grow in some way? What's the lesson? Where's the gold? What can I find? How do I hunt for it? You know?
Yeah.
And that so then by the end of it, it's a beautiful life lesson. It expanded me.
Well, it's also why you're such a good storyteller.
Oh, I like that. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah,
I never
of
connected
course.
those things
Yeah,
specifically.
that's definitely it. And you have a like reading your words on paper, like in a script form. You have a consistent voice. Like it all makes sense. It doesn't feel disjointed, but you have a way of really capturing different voices at the same time. Like every
thank
character
you.
is definitely their own. I think I've definitely read scripts where I'm like, ugh, everything kind of feels one-dimensional, or one character is really thought out and the rest are kind of just there.
Yeah.
You in every draft that was like, molded, but specifically the first one, which was yours.
Yeah.
I could, everything felt really well thought out, and that like those were people with their own experiences.
Yeah.
Versus just like placeholders.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I got a chance to direct a radio play last December.
A radio play?
A radio play, yeah. I do all these with
you were
LA
telling me
Theater
about
Works.
this. Yeah.
But it's a really like multi-dimensional family drama, sort of like a Osage, Orange County kind of feel to it. Like really many layers to all the different people. And I had the privilege of getting to work with the playwright herself too, so that anytime I had a question, because when I was prepping it before walking
really
into doing it, to try to get every single character's, I always do this as an actor, is I plot my through line, like, and I have my little cheat sheet, and I have
so many Post-it notes.
I have so many Post-it notes. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
I know where I'm coming from. I know what I've experienced. I know where I am in relationship to this particular person. I know what that journey is, so that when I'm on set, I'm like living.
Yeah.
Linear.
It's easy to pull from if you're,
Exactly.
you feel lost in any way.
Exactly. So that's my journey. That's what I do for prep, is when I'm just playing a role. But when I was directing, and I think it's similar to writing as well, is that all of a sudden I'm doing it now for every single character. So I'm like, okay, what's your relationship to this person? Where did you just come from this person? Where did you just come from the bigger overarching story?
Right.
And where are you going, and what do you need from this person? So I had, any time there was a moment, and the dialogue was dense, like your subject matter was dense.
Well, yeah, and it has to. It's a radio show. You got to like.
You
So
could
it's
tell
all
everything.
words.
It's all words.
Yeah.
And you and anytime I had a question where I was like, why did he just jump from this thought to this thought? I can't make the connection. I'd reach out. I'd talk to the playwright, and she was so amazing. She'd like shoot me back an email right away. I'm like, oh, great. So that by the time I'm in the room, I've played every single character.
Yeah.
I've arced every single character. I know who they are to each other, what they need in this scene, so that I can just give them the couple nuggets.
Right.
And then let them play, and then go from there, But I think I do the same thing with writing, just because being an actor is the thing that like enables that to.
It takes an enormous amount of empathy, though, to do that all at once, because we can pour ourselves into different characters, a new one that we're playing. But from a writer's perspective, you would have an enormous amount of empathy for every single character involved. The bully, the partner, the best friend, everybody. And it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
Before I'm going to do a project, I have obviously read the script so many different times. And I see it in my head.
Yeah.
And like, I legitimately, every night before bed, go through it.
Yeah.
Or at least a couple of scenes.
Yep.
I can't even help myself.
Yeah. I love that.
It's just like, I can't not do it.
Yeah.
So by the time you get on set, if it doesn't happen the way that it was envisioned in my head, it doesn't like hinder me. It's not like I'm like stuck in something.
Yeah.
But I've felt all of those feelings,
Yep.
and then they just are there.
Yes.
It's an interesting it's emotionally taxing, really.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of.
But so it makes you so good.
It's just part of the fun.
It's the fun. Like, why do it if you're not gonna? If you're not gonna like fully go. But I just loved you're such a freaking pro and so present in every scene. I only got to visit on 3 days, but
there was only 14 days. So.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
Yeah.
But you nail every moment, and it's so specific.
I really appreciate
and it's so present and so connected. So all of that work is you see it in spades. It's really, really beautiful to watch you work.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I want to direct you next.
I want you to direct me. Please.
That would be really fun.
That would be really, really fun. Would we get anything done? That's the question. That would be,
no, yeah. We can do it.
That's a goal of mine, is just like work with people that I love.
Yes, same.
You know what I mean? Like I have been lucky to work with so many cool people, and it's like, it's a joy to like work with the people that you love the most again.
Yes.
It's like, that's what's so cool about, creating something with like-minded people too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like we challenge each other, but at the same time, it's like, it really just does feel like you're playing.
Yes.
And that's why I want to be an actor, is I want to play. And it's so nice to be in a career where you could do that. So obviously so many people don't have an outlet like that. But yeah, I just want to play.
Which is what
I'd
makes
love
it
to have another play date.
I know. I want another play date too. That's what makes me so crazy when you show up on set and somebody's like bitching and moaning or doesn't know their lines or doesn't care or whatever. I'm just like,
do you know how lucky you are to be here? Yeah, I have no patience.
I have no patience for you. Zero patience for you.
Yeah.
You are living the actual dream. Mm-hmm. And you said yes. So put on your big boy pants and show up.
Yeah. Yes. 1,000 and 150%. It is.
Our cast was so good in this. Mitchell was like on it every time.
He really was.
He was super prepared. Kaylee, of course, was super on it.
And also so hard on herself when I was like, honey, you have a million lines. It's really fine. And my my book reading monologue. That was hilarious.
What was the line that I had to make you, that I made you say?
The masked
executioner asked. Yes. The masked executioner asked.
And I did not realize how hard that was going to be.
Well, that was my fault.
Until I said that out loud.
That was deeply, deeply my fault. I had not said that specific part of the dialogue out loud, I don't think, because it was written as prose. I say all the other lines in my brain.
So Sarah just happened to be on set that day, and you just came up to me and you were like, "I'm so sorry."
I'm so sorry.
Because once you get it wrong like 4 times in a row, there's this pressure. And it was a scene where I was like reading. I'm an author in the movie, and I'm reading my book to like an audience. So then you have all these lovely, sweet extras in front of you, and also your crew who's like definitely giggling at you. And you just have this like extra layer of like, I got to get this right.
I have to. Masked executioner.
And I would do that, and then we would roll, and I'd be like, masked executioner? Yeah, exactly. It's just like
my fault.
So rough.
It was my fault.
No. And I so thought, by the way, that I was going to have to ADR that line, and I didn't.
You got it. No, you totally got it.
I did not.
I never doubted you for a second.
Oh, I did. I definitely doubted myself. Is there a scene that you've filmed in your career that like haunts you in a way that is like
in a good
super
way?
Embarrassing in a good or bad way?
Embarrassing.
It doesn't have to be like embarrassing. Is the reason I'm saying this is because I have one.
Oh,
and I feel like most actors probably have one where it's either like something that you feel like you like didn't nail, or it was like something really out of your comfort zone that was just weird.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't like haunt me, but I think the moments that kill me and make me lose sleep are oh gosh, no, I had one on Amber Brown. Well, when I have to nail something, a comedy beat, and I'm can't quite get the rhythm of it. I did a scene on Amber Brown with Ashley Williams, who's comedic genius.
So great, yeah.
And she's playing my sister in it, and the director's just trying to get me to say this line this one way, and I
can't wrap your head around it. Yeah, I've been
could not accomplish it, and they gave me so many tries, and then I was like, Ashley, just tell me how to say it. Can you just please give me a line reading? And then of course she did, and then I nailed it. Because I needed to hear it. I needed to hear it.
Yeah.
But I went home being like,
it feels
will
awful.
they
It feels
even
so
like
shitty.
that?
Yeah.
Do they? I don't. And then the other when I've done a table read, so on Grey's there was this one episode where I had to do this speech after my daughter was cut out of me on the kitchen table, and then I'm left in the hospital. She gets to go home with Jackson, and I have to still heal, and I'm like losing it about, and I have this whole speech about it's like birds and dogs, and you know she's gonna lose the scent of me, and she's got like I have this thing.
Yeah.
I read it cold in the table read, and it got like people clapped for it. Like there was bursts of applause, like spontaneous applause. But it was just a cold reading. It was just like
you're just trying to get it out.
Just getting it out. And then I had that in my head, like I have to nail it. I have to nail it, and I have to nail it every single time they roll, every single time. I must have asked to do it like I think Kevin McKidd was directing, and I was like, again, do it again. I didn't get it. Again. Like I just got into my head about it. Whereas like it was not the purity of the table read. And then that kills me when I'm like, oh, why am I better when I've never looked at it?
Never looked at it before. I know. Well, we also have like the highest expectations for ourselves.
Yes.
And nothing feels worse than like feeling like you didn't get it. And when someone's like, okay, yeah, we're moving on, being like,
you didn't.
Did I just not? You say you got it, but is it just because like
we don't have
took
time.
too many tries?
Yeah.
You know
we
what I
don't
mean?
have time, and you'll fix it in the edit.
Especially on television where things do just move really fast.
So fast.
You only have a small window. Do you want to hear mine?
Yeah, I want to hear yours.
Mine is I did this like coming of age movie, and I newly had gotten diagnosed with PCOS, and so I was at like probably the height of all of like my body issues.
Yeah.
So it was a vulnerable time in general, and my role itself was very, very vulnerable, and part of it was like part of like it was wrapped into the way that she looked. Like she didn't get in like freshman year, she didn't get what do you call it? A position on the cheerleading team because
of her body.
Because of her body, and like there was just a lot of wounds for her character, right? So part of the movie, it's like this like revenge scene where me and the other our other group of friends like run onto the gymnasium floor and do the cheerleading routine, and then we rip off our uniform and we're butt ass naked in front of the whole gymnasium, and we run out. And in the actual finished cut, you just see us completely naked from behind. So we are like we are butt ass naked, right? Yeah. And we had like sticky things on us.
It's barely. Come on.
But
we've all worn the stickies.
Right? We've all worn the stickies, and then everything is glued, and it's inevitably something comes off, and there's always like, the first rehearsal, the extras weren't in, but the first rehearsal, we did everything except for ripping everything off. So then we're rolling, the extras all get placed in the gymnasium seats, because they were all in the shot. It was the wide shot. It was like the most important one. And we're running on to start the dance. And as I start dancing this stupid cheer, I like glance over, and I think I'm 19.
Such a baby.
I think I was 19. Oh. And I glance over to the gym or to the bleachers or whatever. And there's a guy in the front row.
Oh no.
Who was my high school ex-boyfriend's best friend, who was like a total pig. And
wait, for real?
For reals. He was one of the extras.
He was one of what?
And so now I'm super self-conscious of my body in real life. I'm going through all of this crazy body stuff. And my character is also super self-conscious of herself. And I had to then consciously go through the rest of the routine and then rip off all of my clothes.
Oh my gosh.
And that was probably one of the most memorable things that I have done in my career, not to anybody else, but myself. And I could not, I couldn't speak. At the end of it, I was like,
on a crawl?
Yeah, and I obviously told all of these sweet girls that are amazing actors. And they were like, well, do you want us to get him removed? And I was like, you know how terrible that is?
Excuse me, one dude
yeah,
in the middle.
I mean, and the shock on his face too, I could totally see. And he's in his 20s now and probably grown up a lot as a human, and he's probably totally fine and
Yes.
Not an asshole teenage baseball player anymore. I'm sure he's fine now, or then and now. But you could tell he was not prepared for what happened either. It wasn't like he was an ass and weaseled his way onto this set, because both of us were shocked, and both of us were this is
the most
uncomfortable thing ever. And so I did not get him removed, but then I had to over and over over again do this
with
in front of him with him right there. Yeah. And it was a whole pull off uniform together. So even for the tighter shots, we had to
pull the whole thing. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. That one sucked. But hey, those feelings were real.
You felt some real feelings.
Felt some real feelings.
You know what? The story was told, and you made people feel less alone.
Did I? No, I did.
Yes,
it was a really sweet film. But yeah, that was rough.
Gosh,
that was rough. Every now and then,
that's a tough one.
Every now and then, I think about it too. I don't know if that will ever completely go away. Even though I love my body and I love what it has done for me, and I love my journey as a woman. There's all those things.
But go deep, man.
That was an interesting one, and I don't think I've ever told that story in this way. I've told it to friends and whatever, but not So now we know.
Now we all know.
And now if you ever watch that movie, you'll be like, ooh, wow, I see that in a different light.
See all those real emotions flowing through her
he
face.
Disappeared so fast. It wasn't
not going to try to say hi.
Nope,
no way.
He
done.
Ducked out real fast. Yeah.
The amount of vulnerability we already have to put ourselves in.
What are the fucking chances? It was not even So when we shot the book reading scene for the Carpenter's Christmas Romance, I had this thought of well, this is really close to my hometown.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's local extras. There could definitely be people that I know
and
being an extra.
You thought
I had
moment?
PTSD from that, right? And nobody was. But that was kind of the thing. I was like, what are the chances that this little film, I think it was an indie, in Santa Monica, would have pulled somebody that I know, anyone that I know as an extra. Yeah. So anyway, that was rough.
Thank you on that note, everybody. On that note,
I thank you so much. She does have a great ass.
Look at her beautiful body.
We talk about the nipples, and when I bought these, I did not realize that the nipples were red.
Oh.
And I feel like I need to get some paint and darken them because this is a question. This will be our final question as we wrap out this episode. Did you breastfeed?
Yes. I didn't mean to have a spit take on that. Okay. I did truly. Well, with Micah, he didn't latch, so I tried for 10 weeks. It was absolute terror, horrible. And lactation consultants and fenugreek and all the
nightmare,
shit. Yeah. Feeling like a failure and I failed my body. My body failed.
I drank the tea.
I did all the
cookies.
Things.
I did all the freaking things. Yeah.
I have memories, talk about trauma, of bouncing on the bouncing ball, shirtless, sobbing, with a breast shield, squeezing my boob, trying to get Micah, and he's just arching his back and screaming while I'm sobbing hysterically and bouncing like this. That's how I remember breastfeeding my son. But I did have a moment outside of church where I was describing how awful this was, and all these women who all have very different ideas
with it.
They're like, "Why are you guys torturing each other? formula's awesome. Just go get formula.
Right.
Like, it's fine. And the lactation consultant told me I was going to dry up if I just moved to pumping. So I never, after that conversation with those women outside of church, I never once tried to breastfeed him again.
Yeah.
But I did a pump, and I pumped for a year. And actually, when I stopped trying to breastfeed him, all the milk just flowed, because I wasn't so stressed out. Hannah was a NICU baby and started her life on a feeding tube. So I was sure. I just was like, I guess I'm just never going to get to have this experience. And then she latched immediately when she got home from the hospital.
Every baby's different. Every pregnancy is different.
Yeah.
But I had a terrible experience with breastfeeding. Very similar. I tried for, like 3.5 months, and, he was losing weight. So I had to supplement with formula. Yeah. And like, I have this like moment, I think it was probably like 3 weeks in, the lactation specialist at the hospital told me the wrong thing to do. And it was so unnatural for me. And then he didn't latch. It was just like chaos. And I spilled some of the, the liquid gold.
The gold.
And I was devastated.
Yeah.
I was devastated. Colostrum is what it's called.
Yeah.
I was absolutely devastated. He did get some, like from the first week and a half or whatever, but like pumping was incredibly painful. And my boobs, my nipples were so sore and red and got to the point where they were drying and cracking. And so
I look like that. No.
And I'm like,
we don't want to see
paint
this.
these.
We don't want to see dry, cracked pain.
Yeah. So that was the thing, right? Is like once I finally relented and was like, why am I doing this to myself? Fed is best, like he's healthy, he's growing. And I just kind of accepted it, and then it got better. Yeah, it got better, but the pumping thing, nothing. I think my supply never came in.
Yeah.
But my boobs were fucking massive. I was like, what is the point?
My boobs were like planets.
What was the point of them growing if they're not going to actually? You know what I mean?
That's what you go through in your head. You're like, this was what these. One of the big reasons of what they're made for. How you feel like such a
failure. Yeah,
failure.
yeah.
And then it doesn't help when you go online and everything, breast is best, breast is best, breast. I'm like, shut up. Yeah. Leave me alone.
And those are, it's only the people that haven't, like, that were able to get it
I had a friend tell me,
them.
I had to go back to work 2 weeks after giving birth both times.
So hard.
I had a friend tell me, she was a doula at the time, and she was like, well, have you tried just exclusively breastfeeding so that he never gets a bottle? And I'm like, how am I going to do that when I'm shooting a 16-hour day? How am I going to do that? That's not a thing.
Think before you speak. You're like, well, I guess you'll just starve.
Oh, gosh. I know.
Oh, man.
So hard.
Mistletoe murders.
Watch me. Well, and it's all the episodes have dropped. So you can binge them all. There's 6 episodes on Hallmark Plus, and it's such a fun show. It's so much fun.
I have not watched an episode yet, but I have seen every single preview, and you're great, and I love it. And I can see all of your personality in there.
Oh, yeah.
You have those moments where you're just like, ugh. I'm like, yep, that's her.
Sarah.
That is not.
Sassy Sarah.
Sassy Sarah is very present and one of my favorite versions of you. So, yeah.
I love it.
I'm excited.
And Carpenter Christmas Romance.
Christmas Romance.
With Sasha.
Starring me.
Brilliant.
It was really fun. I'm so glad.
I'm
so glad that
I'm excited for the world to see it.
Same.
I love you.
I love you so much. Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm so
And come back
happy to be here.
anytime. Bye.
Bye.